Welcome everyone. Today we have Doa, who I work with at BCG for about 4 years.
Hi Dennis. Hi everyone.
Today we will talk about our experience in consulting and tell you really what consulting is and why should you join. Let's get started.
Why consulting exists, if this is the question for the clients? To me, the first thing is that all clients, even though they're Fortune 500 companies with executive committee with 30 years of experience in the business, they need to validate their decisions. And once those decisions are the toughest ones, like, investing billions of dollars in one facility or acquiring another player or, restructuring the organization, those toughest decisions need a second eye, and they most of the time have an hypothesis. Most of the cases, I will say that's the correct way to do, but they want to validate that point, and then they can take the step more comfortably. That's why.
I totally agree. I even remember a couple times where we were working with our clients, they knew what they were going to do, but perhaps they haven't had the most robust methodology to validate it, right?
Yeah.
So really hiring consultants helps them in a couple of fronts. So first of all, it gives them the peace of mind that yes, they might be spending €500,000, but at least they need another validation on their billions of dollars of investment. And second, it's also more about being able to work with a very talented pool of people. What do you think?
They ask this question a lot, like, this is a billion-dollar company, can't they hire a team as qualified as you? Like, the answer is yes and no, because of course they can if they want to, but once you hire that team, you cannot deploy that team all the time. You just need that for a couple of months in every 2 years, 3 years. So it's a waste of resources to hire that team, to build that team. And instead, what they do is like they're reaching out to the top talent in this specific function, specific capability to do something for them for a couple of months. And that basically pays off in the long run, because you don't spend 2 years, 3 years of money to deploy the team, but you get 2 years, maybe 5 to 10 years of decisions, thoughts, arguments from this team. So
of course,
that's the deal.
And also, yes, we do see that projects are typically done by 4 or 5 people in consulting, but actually there are many people behind the scenes that usually clients don't see. Let me just give an example. Say that we do a project in the automotive sector, a developing economy, like in Malaysia, on digital transformation. Yes, maybe the team is only 5 people, but usually those projects also involve partners coming from Germany, Sweden, Turkey, and many other regions. And usually clients don't see them because those partners are kind of at the back of the scene and they're just providing inputs here and there, making sure that their thoughts are being shared, and then they do a quality check. So usually those corporations, they cannot just hire a network of hundreds of experts if they were to move this in-house.
On top of that, you even have access to the projects, to deliverables of the previous projects that maybe has been done for, 100 times in different corners of the world, and you have access to those materials even though you don't deploy any resource, any expert on field. So those things are, I think, invaluable knowledge that the consulting teams, consulting firms have in their databases, and projects give access to those knowledge.
Absolutely. And besides the knowledge, also it's about the time, right? Because we know that consulting projects are usually understaffed and they just want to deliver as quickly as possible. So there's also another element of time when corporations hire consulting firms. They know that if they were to do this themselves, maybe it would take them a year to complete a project, whereas because the budget is so constrained and that consulting companies had done this hundreds of times, they know that they can deliver those much quicker. So this is also another way for them to save money, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Now that we shared with you our understanding of what consulting is or why corporations need consulting, let's dig deeper into what kind of projects consultants typically work on. For that, you can obviously go on McKinsey's or BCG's websites to understand their capabilities and industrial coverage, but let us give you a quick overview on this too. So first of all, in terms of the functional expertise or the capabilities as we call, I personally worked on projects such as M&A or due diligence, which is one of the most challenging project types, but also very common. Besides, I had the chance to work on transformation type of projects. We usually categorize them under the operations. I've also worked on projects that involve turnaround, meaning you are helping a client become more profitable, or digital transformation, which is one of the emergent topic types. What other topics do consultants typically work on?
Yeah, I worked on the digital transformation project that you wrote the proposal. So that's the first one I can list. And my very first project I remember was marketing. And then I moved to organization. And then I've done a due diligence where you challenge the business plan of a company and you investigate the opportunities in the market. And then I've done another digital project, two companies trying to build a joint venture to invest in their space. Let's call it investment. And then that's where I paused, and then I joined a team to do purely pricing projects. And so first 2 years completely generalist, different functions. Last 2 years very focused and specialized in one single function.
No, makes sense. And on top of the projects that I've mentioned before, maybe I can also add that public sector is also a very much growing practice. Out of 4 years at BCG, I worked on this for almost 2 years.
Yeah, for you it was a big thing.
It was. I think at some point I was the only one billing for a public sector practice, right?
Yeah.
So I worked on the likes of, defense and employment related projects, on restructuring, on, digitalization. So as you see, there are a lot of things consultants do work on. As I said, go on their websites and you'll be able to see the full spectrum. In terms of the industries as well, I know consulting companies pretty much cover all industries.
Yeah, consumer goods, industrial goods, automotive, telecommunications, travel and tourism. It's another space. Public sector, I think it's both function and industry. There are a lot of NGO work as well. Yeah, I think it's pretty much everything you see.
I would say so. But I guess what's critical here is that, let's take BCG as an example. They do have many different offices worldwide. And it is also quite unrealistic to expect that a small office, let's say an office of 50, would work on all industries and capabilities. So if you're interested in building your expertise in an industry or a capability area, you definitely have to network with people from those offices to really understand what are the main projects that they do. Because it depends on a couple of things. First of all, it depends on which partners are there, what kind of relationships do they have, but also what was the legacy of the office. Because yes, a partner may go, but then a principal comes up and carries the work over. Based on my experience at least, I haven't seen those smaller offices being capable around many different functional and industrial projects.
Right, yeah. I think it's also about the geography because of the demand. So the geography drives demand. Let's say, in the US offices, for instance, there is a huge demand in the East Coast, especially like New York, in finance, in the healthcare. When you go up to the Boston or New Jersey or some parts of California, you also see a lot of healthcare projects.
Or energy in Texas, right?
Or energy in Texas, in the South, exactly. So you see, this is like very regional. Of course, you may have like finance projects in the West Coast, but it's mostly concentrated in the East. And it's also very similar in Europe as well. Like in Germany, a lot of automotive. In the South, in Italy, a lot of consumer goods. In London, a lot of deals, M&A transactions, private equity and finance work. So I think it's also quite regional. But in all offices pretty much, especially in the small ones, you see a lot of people like pretty much generalists, like working in every type of project in every sector, but also has a lot of regional focus as well.
Exactly. Yeah. But people can do what you just did as well, which was you worked on many different projects for the first 2 years. And once you realize what you want to do more, which was the travel and tourism and pricing, right?
Yeah.
That element, then you did get staffed internationally. So that's a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in Europe it's much easier. Yeah, in the US it's also pretty easy. Once you have a team that is composed of different members from different offices, then I think you can do either remote work or work abroad pretty easily. But if you have a high demand in your own office, of course, it's hard to get staffed abroad or to another office because that's where you were hired for.
I've also seen quite hybrid teams as well. So, for example, if there is a telecom project in, let's say, Singapore, but then they don't have many people working on this topic, there are people flying from Switzerland or somewhere else, and they kind of have their own people. Plus, they obviously have to mix it with some local talent, especially for the client relationship.
Right.
So, also the hybrid model is working pretty well for consulting companies.
Yeah, that's true.
Fantastic.
That's true.
All right, unless there's anything else you would like to add on the introduction, maybe we can together talk about why should people join consulting, and
Sure.
maybe you can start with sharing your own experience.
Yeah, of course. Consulting will make you a clear thinker that you will basically have the best approach in every single argument, high level, top down, segmented, very fact based, very figure backed, and it will be very easy to discuss anything. It will be very easy to argue with pretty much everyone on every single topic, and that will help you a lot, not only in your professional life but also in your personal life, in the way you judge things happening around you, and in the way you assess the things happening, assess the developments, and set goals for yourself in life. I think that's the biggest gain a person can get out of consulting. And besides that, maybe that was more like high level overarching skill that you adopt, but on top of that, consulting over time teaches you a lot of things, but also it teaches you something very well. And then you specialize on one topic. We just mentioned about those practice areas, industries, and it teaches you, let's say, finance, banking, and then you know about banking inside out. And then once you go to a bank, either you are a consultant in the future or either you are a banker in the future, that you will be the person in the room, and then you'll be the thought leader in that. You will really know that inside out, and then you will be respected very highly. That's, I think, another super important thing. Besides those, once you start your career in a country or in a city, and then you want to move to another country, another city, you want to have a different life in the future, not permanently to change your life, but maybe to taste something different. I think that's a great opportunity because that makes you a global citizen where you can find colleagues, you can find classmates, you can find friends in every single big city in the world. And once you go to, even I go to a new country, new city, I knock on the door of BCG office and they let me in. And then that, not only to make friends, of course, but to build a new life. Let's say I want to move from East Coast to West Coast, from Germany to somewhere more sunny, or from somewhere sunny to somewhere more rainy, that I can just use BCG, McKinsey, Bain, whatever as a leverage, and then I can move there, continue what I do and easily get oriented to my new life. That's, I think, a great opportunity.
I would totally agree. In my case, I've studied abroad in the UK, and I wanted to go back home to Turkey. When I studied at Cambridge and Warwick, I really was surrounded by international people at the top of the class, super intellectual people. And I knew as I would join consulting, wherever I go, I would also be surrounded by similar people. And yeah, that actually proved me right as well. When I joined Carnegie and BCG, I was surrounded by international people, people that are super smart. And I really felt almost this was an extension to my master's degree when I joined consulting.
Right.
And the other thing that I love about consulting is that it is absolutely merit-based. If you are good at what you're doing, there is a very much predefined structure of getting promoted. So if you perform well, you know you're going to get promoted. So I really like the fact that there's very little room for subjectivity when it comes to those promotions. And the last thing I could mention is usually you join consulting right after you graduate, maybe when you're 21, 22, 23. And it is very unusual in many sectors that you'll be taken seriously by your clients or by your managers. And in consulting, what happens is that when you join a consulting firm, and then when you're staffed on a consulting project, your clients will not treat you as Doa or Dennis or whatever. They will treat you as you are BCG, you are McKinsey. And that really helps you, because surely you may not know enough about the topic as much as your client counterparts who have spent 20, 30 years on that topic, but at least you do have a good network. You know people who can actually give you the right knowledge. So that really helps you in getting your points come across in meetings. So consulting really helps you do that.
Exactly. I agree.
Great. Thanks a lot for your time, Doa.
Thank you.
And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And we're going to see you in the next video. Take care.